Welcome to the Real Estate Red Flags podcast, the things no one tells you before or after you buy. I'm Joshua, ISA certified arborist and ASCA consulting arborist, joined by Ian, who's the owner of IM Home Inspections. Let's get into it.
I'm a certified arborist and registered consulting arborist based in San Diego, California. I have seen, believe it or not, trees alone make or break a real estate transaction. So it's one part of a big picture. And Ian here, who is our other host, he's the owner of IM Home Inspections in Woodland Hills, California. And Ian, I know you've walked thousands of homes in your day and seen a lot. So,
thanks, Josh. Yeah, my name's Ian. I own a company called IM Home Inspections. We're based here in Los Angeles, California. Woodland Hills is part of California, or part of Los Angeles, for those of you who don't know. I've got a team of 7 guys spread out through LA and Ventura County. And yeah, we do general home inspections, pool inspections, sewer inspections, mold inspections. And yes, Josh was right. Trees can make a big, huge deal. We can talk a lot about tree stories. But I've had my company for over 11 years, or actually 12 years. And I've been in real estate for 21 years in various roles before I started my home inspection company. So I've definitely seen it all from all sides. And yes, I've been that guy standing in the house going, what did I do?
Yeah, want to avoid that. And hey, that's why we're doing this, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Nice. Well, we'll get into a lot more, but just for the viewer or the audience here, just so you can kind of understand what to expect from this show is, for the most part, we're going to have 2 different formats. Format 1 is going to be what we're doing right here, right now, which is just the 2 of us breaking down certain topics. You know, it could be anything related to a real estate transaction. Kind of focusing more so on the home inspection side of things, but it could be anything from talking about, I don't know, drainage, mold, roofing, foundation, like sewer. It's for home buyers who want to walk into a closing with their eyes open, and also homeowners who want to stay ahead of expensive problems, and then really just any real estate professional who genuinely wants to serve their clients well. Ian, before we start, I guess I'll just start off with a question for you is, how did you ever get into the home inspection field? How did it start, and what is your business like today?
It started, actually, I was working at a wholesale mortgage company 21 years ago. I just realized my career wasn't going anywhere. I wanted to be a musician, wanted to be a drummer in a rock band. And my famous saying is, I always told myself I was moved to LA, I was going to make it in the music industry or die trying. And one day I woke up with, my now wife going, I don't want to die that badly. And it took a while to figure out, well, what am I good at? And I read this great book called Now Discover Your Strengths. And I've always had an eye for problems. I've always been able to pick out problems. And this book kind of helps you do self-evaluation of your own skills. And it was like, you're really good at finding problems, finding negative things. Most jobs that get you into trouble, like you work someplace and they don't want someone being, negative Nancy, always pointing out problems. They want you to be positive yes man. And that was always getting me into trouble at places. So once I read this book, though, I was like, oh, this thing that's always getting me into trouble could be a positive if applied correctly. So when I got to this wholesale mortgage company, they were actually all kind of on board with it. They're like, you know what? I'd worked there a while. They're like, we have a job for you. They took me to the back of the office where all the problems were. And it was like, we have problem loans that we have funded. We were trying to sell to Wall Street investors, and they're kicking them back because he's the one with the problem. So your job is to go through, figure out what the problem is, who caused it, if anybody, what we can do to fix it. So it's basically a quality control role. And I just fell in love with that. I was just like, oh my God, this is like
Yeah.
easy for me. Like I get to analyze things and get people into trouble who screwed up or point out maybe it wasn't a person, maybe it was our system that screwed up. Maybe it was just the way we did things. Or sometimes it's just a paperwork error and it was an easy fix.
Mm.
And I love that job and it was great. And from there, my wife and I bought our first house, which was a complete fixer upper. And so that's where I was like, what did I do one day after like, realizing like
Oh,
it? And I mean, we got a home inspection. We knew going in that this was a complete fixer upper. We knew the
yeah.
roof was shot. We knew it needed new plumbing. Though there was a hole in one of the bathrooms so big you could see the dirt like underneath.
Wow.
We knew that needed to be replaced, but we loved the layout, and it was in our budget. So we bought it, and we would fix it up. We would camp in one room, fix another room, then move our camp, and eventually we did a
There
whole
you
circle
go.
house. Uh, and I just realized after a while, I was like, wow, I working on this house all day is a lot more fun than just sitting in an office looking at
Yeah.
pictures of houses. So I thought, maybe I should become a home inspector. I mean, we had a home inspection. That guy had a pretty cool job.
Yeah.
Didn't do it right away because that's right when the economy started to crash. And so I just sort of remember sitting on the curb on Ventura Boulevard, sort of just like, oh my God, like I have no career, I have no job, I have no nothing right now. That home inspector idea I had a couple years ago, maybe I should revisit that.
Yeah.
And I looked online, and there just happened to be some classes coming up, and I was like, all right, that's it. I'm not working for anybody else again. I'm not letting anybody lay me off again. I'm not ever going to walk into an office and have someone tell me, oh, we're moving the company or closing the company or we're laying off everybody. All these experiences that I've had.
Right.
And so I started the home inspection business basically just first as a way to just survive, have a job. I wanted to pay the mortgage. I wanted to feed my kids. So that went great for like 5 years. I was, going along, tootling along. And then one day I just realized, like, yeah, but I never really get a break. My kids never really get a break. And that was the big thing is I realized, like, you never go on vacation because I can't not work. Like
Yeah.
when you're self-employed and you're the only person there, you don't really run a company.
Yeah.
You just basically run your own job. The biggest thing we ever do is, run down to San Diego and go to like SeaWorld or Legoland or
Hmm.
one of those things, which we can only do like 2 days. And then I'm on the phone the entire time trying to book jobs while spending time with my kids. I'm like, this is not what I meant for my kids to do.
Yeah.
That's why I started hiring people. And it was a slow process, but over years, eventually built up a staff. So now I have 7 inspectors. That might turn to 8 soon. We'll see. It's kind of spread out all through, like I said, LA and Ventura County. I've got a whole office staff that answers phones, operations staff that takes care of things, a marketing person now. So now I've got a whole company.
Nice. That's incredible, honestly. And it seemed like you kind of had to do that by necessity in order to earn a living at first, and then in order to, I guess, live the lifestyle you wanted, where you weren't just working all the time. And so, yeah, that's really impressive the way you built that out. Um, let's jump into like a home inspection in itself. If
Sure.
you could just run through, a general inspection, what does that process look like? I guess from start to finish, and if someone's is the homeowner or the home buyer, are they usually present during those, or I guess how does that process usually work for you guys?
Yeah. Well, first someone has to hire us. So usually
Yeah.
we're always hired by the home buyer.
Right.
They may have the real estate agent schedule it, or they may schedule it themselves. Either way, we're good.
Hmm.
We always encourage the buyer to be there. I think it's very important that the buyer be there because most buyers, they see the house 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe they come back a second time. This is their time to really be in the house for the first time for like several hours. And if you really read all of the California residential purchase forms, the agents are going to give you a lot of these forms and you're supposed to sign. In those forms, it says you have an obligation to do your own due diligence. So, yeah, I always want people there. Plus, I want them to see how hard my guys work. Like, when they see the sweat coming off my guys, they're like, whoa, you really did a good job. And they're going to have less questions later. It's the people who don't show up to the inspection.
Yeah.
They're the ones that call later and have 101 questions. And
Yeah,
like,
and I'm sure you say, well, if you were there, you would have known all this and seen it. But yeah,
yeah.
I totally get that.
I mean, I remember one guy came at the end and he was like, well, did you go on the roof? I'm like, yeah. I was like, well, I don't see your ladder. I'm like, because I put it back in the car a long time ago. Like, you should have been here. If you'd been here an hour ago, you would have seen me go on the roof. So I
Yeah.
always encourage people to be there. The actual inspection, is a complete investigation, evaluation of the condition of the home.
Mhm.
The biggest myth is it's pass or fail. There's no pass, there's no fail. What we're just there to document the condition of everything. Whether it passes or fails, that's up to you.
Right.
Plus, there's so many components in the house. Even if the roof fails, that doesn't mean necessarily the rest of the house is bad. It just meaning you need a new roof.
Right.
Um. So anyway, so yeah, we go through the whole house, and it's roof to foundation. Looking at the roof, looking at the attic, looking at the foundation, looking at the crawl space, going through the kitchen, going through all the bathrooms, and all through the rooms, testing windows, outlets, the electrical panel, the plumbing. What kind of piping does it have? Is water falling in? Is water falling out? Uh, running the HVAC system. Does it get hot? Does it get cool? Everything. And I generally tell people by the time we're done, you're going to know more about the house than the guy who built it.
Yeah. That's a ton of value just right there. So I mean, showing up for that inspection is super important, like you're saying, on both sides, really. It's only gonna make things better for everyone, you know?
Yeah, and like I said, most people think, well, this is a pass or fail. No, it's to inform you of the condition of the house. So
Yeah.
you make an educated decision. Some people think, oh, well, the home inspection is just so I can find out what's wrong and beat the seller up over money. Like, no, that might be a side thing, might not
Yeah.
be. Really depends on, the deal. Uh, some people think, it is a pass or fail. Some people think it's a code. Some people think it's, you know, just something aggravating they have to go through. But the purpose is to actually inform you of all the conditions of the house so that you can make an informed decision as to whether you want to buy the house or not. And what's important to one person could be completely unimportant to someone else.
Mm.
You know, I've inspected houses that were literally falling down, and people were like, cool, project, let's go.
Yeah.
And, I've seen people like freak out over like the smallest thing, like, oh my God, the shower valve is broken. I can't buy this house. I'm like, it's a hundred,
Everyone's different, I guess.
call Palmer, it's gonna be a couple $100 to fix it, and you'll be good. Like, you don't need to
Yeah.
pass on an entire house over something small.
Hmm.
Something about the house comes up during the inspection process that really has nothing to do with the inspection. And I think I mentioned this to you off camera. My favorite inspection story. These people wanted to buy this condo, nice little condo, West LA, and they're going to work from home, and
Yeah.
newly married, first place kind of thing. And so they had seen the condo on a Saturday, really liked it. They called their agent back the next Saturday. Can we see it again? It was still for sale, so they went and saw it again. And they're like, yeah, this is the condo for us. It's nice, it's quiet, it's peaceful, affordable. Great. So now we do the inspection, and it's a Wednesday. This is the key. It was Wednesday, not Saturday. What we found out on a Wednesday is that there was a machine shop next door, a very loud machine shop next door. Now, on Saturday, when they viewed it, the shop was closed. It was quiet. The next Saturday, they came back. Shop was closed. It was quiet. Now we're doing the inspection. It's Wednesday. That shop is really noisy. Now, that has nothing to do with the inspection. I'm not there to evaluate
Right.
noises from the neighborhood. I kind of assume that, when an inspection really has nothing to do with where it's located, what's next. There's a noisy machine shop. Kind of annoying, but I'm not living there. They're like, oh my god, we can't buy this place. Like we can't work from home living next.
Right.
And so that was the best story about why you have to show up to the inspection, because that really had nothing to do with the inspection itself, but definitely had everything to do with doing your own due diligence.
Definitely. That's something good to know just in general. If you're buying a house, check it out during the week and on the weekend. It could be completely different, things going on like we have here. So that's crazy.
Yeah, no, and it says in your contract. This is what a lot of agents miss. In your residential purchase contract, it says you have X number of days to do your buyer's investigations. They don't call them inspections, but that includes all your inspections. And it's in a matter of days, not hours. A lot of people get confused that it's in terms of hours, and the seller says, "Well, I only want the inspector here from at Saturday 12 to 5, and no other time." No, 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 no. There's nothing wrong with driving by the house at night and seeing like, what's the neighborhood like at night? What is it like on the weekend? What's going on Saturday nights? You should definitely do these things on top of your inspections.
Absolutely. Well, let me ask you I'm just curious, what is something that that you see on almost every inspection, or something that comes up just so often that maybe people wouldn't expect, or buyers wouldn't consider?
Uh, every house has at least one bad outlet.
Yeah.
There's a reason why inspectors go walking around with outlet testers, and we test every outlet we can get to. Now, we don't unplug anything that's plugged in, which is why I prefer vacant houses, because you can get to every outlet. But if it's a house with furniture and stuff, okay, we're going to get to every outlet that is available. And there's always at least one bad outlet in the house, especially when it comes to ground fault circuit interrupters. So those outlets, the little outlets with the button,
Right.
and they turn off the power if it senses water. Technically, it senses if there's something wrong with the circuit and shuts itself off, which is generally water. And so most houses have at least one outlet that should be GFCI that is not. Most houses have several. Most houses have at least one outlet that's wired backwards, or a wire's gotten loose inside. I'm almost never in a house where I can say, yeah, all the outlets were good. Maybe it was a brand new house, but even that, I found some missing GFCIs.
Well, you know what? That's great. That's a great point, because I think most people would never think of that. They just think, oh yeah, the outlets are, they just see them and they move on. But that's good to know, and it's important too. So, um, I guess, what if someone is under contract to purchase a home, and then it's up to them to find a home inspector? What would be something you would tell them to look for, or certain things when they're hiring a home inspection business, that I guess would be requirements, or would be important for that business to have?
Well, the two biggest things, one is see if they have a sample report.
Mm.
And look at the sample report, and then maybe compare it to other sample reports from other inspectors. And if your home inspector doesn't have a sample report online, That's probably a red flag right there. Years ago, inspection reports were on triplicate paper, handwritten. Nobody does that anymore. Um, but there's a lot of inspectors out there who skimp on certain pictures, skimp on and make their reports very small. So, and two, I would definitely check out reviews. A company like ours is very highly reviewed. We have a lot of 5-star reviews. There's some other companies out there that don't have that many 5-star reviews or don't have very good reviews. I know some companies that are in business and they have terrible reviews, but nobody looks at them and hires them anyway.
And then they probably get a poor service.
Make sure they are definitely certified.
Yeah.
20 states, home inspectors are licensed in 30 states and not licensed in 20 states. California being a non-licensed state. But they still should be certified, and I've seen some unsavory characters lie about their certifications. So you should be able to go to their website, get their certification number, and verify it. On our website, it's all hyperlinks.
Yeah.
So it goes from our page to the certification agency, so you can verify that everyone on my team is certified.
That's super important. And as an arborist, I'll say the same thing. Is it's amazing how many people will, I guess, claim to be a tree expert, and then you ask them to see their certification as an ISA certified arborist, which is the most common and kind of the gold standard. And then there's also the ASCA registered consulting arborist. It's amazing how many people or businesses, people running tree companies that don't have either of those certifications. And certain jobs, maybe it's not as important as others, but there are some where you definitely want to be working with someone that knows what they're talking about. And then also even like insurance is another thing that I would tell people is make sure whoever you're dealing with has insurance, because if they don't, that's a huge red flag right there. Exactly. Yeah.
That also gets me into another little technical thing. In the real estate purchase contract, I think it's the bottom of section 12, there's a little line there that says buyer agrees to pay for workman's comp insurance or something if the inspector doesn't have their own or something like that. I don't remember the exact wording is. But basically, so, and most one-man shops don't have workman's comp insurance. So basically, if you hire someone and they don't have their own workman's comp policy, you are taking that on if they were to be injured, during the inspection, which is kind of crazy. Guy
Yeah.
falls off the ladder, and now he's going to sue you for hiring him to get on the ladder. But if they don't have workman's comp insurance, that could technically happen. So that's why,
Wow.
that's why a company like us, like we have 7, so I have to have workman's comp insurance. I don't have any choice.
Yeah.
Even though I think paying for it is, we can do a whole episode about that.
You know what? We did. Yeah.
Unfair workman's comp insurance policies are, but
Yeah.
regardless, if you're hiring an inspector who doesn't have workman's comp insurance, you're putting yourself at risk.
Exactly. Yeah. This is a perfect example of why we're even doing this podcast. Is so many people would never even think of that going into a real estate transaction or a home inspection, and something that, I guess, small and simple can really turn into a big issue down the line if they don't do their due diligence. So I'm really glad that you brought that up.
I mean, especially on the tree side, if you hire somebody who's going to come in with a chainsaw and start trimming trees, you better hope they have a workman's comp.
You know what? It's funny. I'll talk to certain, I guess, clients that are in the need for. I got 3 quotes, and they'll say, why one of them is like crazy low. Like, I think I'm gonna like go with that one. I don't know why the other ones are so expensive. And then it's like, I always ask them, well, are they insured? Like, are they a legit business? And then they'll ask them for their insurance, and then they'll never hear from them again. It's crazy how common that is. I wanted to ask you, you've done so many home inspections, and obviously there's trees on many properties. How often does that happen? And I guess are there any things that stand out tree wise that, are negatively affecting properties that you've seen?
Frequently, and
Yeah.
it is something that a lot of people don't think about. And now I'm very pro tree. I love trees, and trees are good, give you shade, and give us oxygen. But like I've seen a brand new roof, but they didn't trim the tree, and now the tree had rubbed the shingles off the roof, and now there's a hole in the roof that was, not very old. That's a very common one. Trees getting too near the roof or overhanging the roof. So I always recommend people trim the trees. The big one is electrical lines coming in. If you've got overhead electrical lines,
Yeah.
don't those lines should not be running through trees. That's a really common one because people don't think about it. But then what
Yeah.
happens in a windstorm? You've got this tree doing this with
Big hazard right there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It could cause a spark, it could cause an arc, or it could just pull the lines right out of your house if it were bad enough.
Hmm.
Um, tree roots and foundations, that's what most people are concerned about. Oh, is that tree ruining my foundation? I rarely see that. But
Yeah.
what we do see are walkways being pushed up, and especially around pools. People, they'll get their pool and they'll build this beautiful pool deck, and they're like, oh, now we need some trees, particularly palm
Yeah.
trees. People
Uh-huh.
love palm trees because that's your standard Southern California vision,
Right
right?
near the pool. Yeah, they want to have that
Pools
look.
surrounded by palm
Definitely.
trees. Those trees' roots, they're not particularly deep. They're more shallow on palm trees, or at least some species. And they start pushing up the pool deck. And so now instead of this nice pool deck, you have this thing that's all wobbly because all the
Yeah.
pushing it up. People putting trees to the wrong kind of trees uh, near their house, or the wrong kind of trees around their pool,
Yeah.
uh, with root systems that are not conducive to what they want. And then, the biggest one is roots in your sewer line.
Yeah, that happens a lot.
That's why we do sewer inspections, because how do trees know to find the sewer line and break in?
Yeah.
And it's amazing. The tree may not even be there anymore, and it might still have roots in it. Or the tree
Hmm.
could be like 20, 30, 40 feet away, and somehow the roots have still found their way into the sewer line. And there are certain materials that are supposed to be in previous roots that roots still get in. My guy gave me a video the other day, and it was a PVC pipe. PVC should be in previous to roots,
Right.
yet there are roots coming right in through the part where the two pipes were connected.
Right. They'll, they're searching for water and they'll find it. So that, I mean, it's crazy how common that is. I've heard that, not even being a home inspector, but just as an arborist, I've heard, trees get into sewer lines all the time. So that's super common. Um,
Future episodes is just me grilling you on tree roots.
we could probably do multiple episodes on tree roots. It's probably the thing I get, people ask the most about, like, hey, is this root a problem? Like, is this root gonna go to my foundation, or can I cut this root? Like, it is very important to talk to an arborist before you do something drastic like that, because it can have big safety and tree health implications down the line. So,
But
um,
I've noticed just from being a homeowner, like certain trees, like the roots just go down and they don't really go out, and so they don't need much space. And other
yeah,
trees, like their roots go out and not very deep, and they need a ton of space, or they're going to start moving stuff up and around. And a lot of trees are somewhere in between, and there's
yeah.
different.
Every species is different, honestly, and it's when you're selecting a species to plant, it's really important to kind of think about the big picture and put the right tree in the right spot. So yeah, it's big. But yeah, I mean, I don't really have any more questions or things to cover, unless there's something you want to touch on, Ian. But
I'd say the last tree thing is there's a certain species of palm tree that has that little nutty fruit
yeah,
thing grows. and planting those too close to the house because the rodents love to eat those little
That's true.
nuts. And what I see a lot of times is one of those is growing near an attic vent, and then you go in the attic, and it's nothing but rodent droppings and those seeds.
Mm.
Because the rodent wants to eat it, and then, oh, I need a convenient place to eat it. Well, I'm not going to sit in this tree where I'm exposed to hawks and owls. I'm going to pull it off and go right over here to this attic. So, another reason not to have your trees too close to your house. Have trees, yes, you want the shade, but don't have them growing right up.
Yeah. No, that's a really good point right there. That's another thing we could probably have a whole episode on is people just putting trees way too close to their house. But
Yeah, we got to do
any,
something. It's not just talking about palm trees, because the different species of palm trees is
yeah,
intriguing. I don't know enough about the different species. I just know that one. That one's going to cause a problem.
yeah. Well, I mean, as you've seen them a lot, so that alone you've learned enough about it, so that's good. Um, well, yeah, I mean that was great. I don't have anything else, and is there anything else you want to cover here, Ian?
I could talk forever if you let me. So you probably better cut me off.
Well, hey, we're gonna have plenty more to talk about in future episodes, but I think that's pretty good to wrap it up here. That's a wrap on our first episode here. I'm Josh. This is Ian, and that was the Real Estate Red Flags podcast. The thing that no one tells you before or after you buy. So we'll see you guys soon.
Hey, what's your contact info? How do people get a hold of you?
Oh yeah, you can email me. It's just josh@treecheck.io. And how about you?
Yeah, companies. I am Home Inspection, so I am the letter I, the letter M, homeinspections.com. Or if you're in Los Angeles, 818-298-3405.
There you go. All right. See you
All right.
guys.
Thanks for listening to the Real Estate Red Flags podcast. If you learned something today, share it with someone about to buy a home. They'll thank you later. Looking forward to seeing you guys next time.